What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review, and today I'm very excited to check out Battle Blanks from Kohio Games. This is for 2 to 4 players, take about 30 to 60 minutes to play, and it's for ages 14 plus. And in Battle Blanks, this is a take that card game where you're going to take one of Blake's alter egos and try to ruin everyone else at the table's self-esteem via verbal assaults or battles of wits. It is a light, simple take that card game, but is it good? Let's open it up and I'll tell you what I think. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Battle Blanks. So first and foremost, we're going to handy dandy rule booklet. It's 6-7 pages, double-sided, full color, full of pictures, illustrations, examples. It's pretty well done. I can't put my finger on it, but I wish there was just a little bit more information in here. The times we played, there was like a couple questions we had. We're like, we're not quite sure how to do this, so we just kind of guessed. But overall, it is a well-done rule booklet that should have you up and running pretty smoothly. So in Battle Blanks, you're going to be taking control of one version of Blake, one of his alter egos, either Artistic Blake, Heroic Blake, Drowsy Blake, Gamer Blake, Despair Blake, and you are going to try and have the highest self-esteem at the end of the game. The game's going to end once you've played a set number of rounds, and the number of rounds will change depending on the player count, or until someone has completely lost all their self-esteem and then they can't even, at which point whoever ever has the highest self-esteem will win the game. And what makes me chuckle, if there's a tie for whoever has the highest self-esteem at the end of the game, then no one wins because no one has high self-esteem. I actually really like that. But let's take a look at the components and then we'll get into the gameplay. So first, everybody's going to have a handy-dandy little cheat sheet card, which is pretty dang useful. It's going to tell you about the verbal assault, the battle of wits, how attacking opponents work, what you're going to do on your player turn order. It's very useful. I wish it did tell you about the 2 different kinds of cards in the game, but that's more of a minor nitpick than anything. Next, you're going to have round tracker cards. So you're going to have a set number of these cards depending on how many people are in the game, and you won't be using all these cards in the game. So there will be some variability from game to game to game. And most of these are pretty self-explanatory. They're going to give a boost, or they're going to hurt people. So for instance, Tyrant Boss might be an event. Everyone's going to lose 3 self-esteem except for Despair Blake. He's already so, sad. He only loses -1 self-esteem. So each one is going to have various different effect on a various different Blake. So I kind of like that. So you're going to set these out, however many players you have, you put the rest of them back in the box, and then we're going to go to these cards right here. And these cards right here, there's going to be action cards, which will have the fist, and then there will be buffs, which will have the shirt. So not all buffs are good, because you can play buffs on other people, and some of them will actually be negative things. But these are going to do all sorts of various different stuff. Removing buffs, this one's going to add an additional +1 skin. This one is going to cancel the effect of an action card. Stylish Tracksuit is just a really good one. The Liberal Arts degree is going to give you +1. Just various stuff that's going to either modify your stats or modify other people's stats, or like this card right here, you can play it on yourself to temporarily bump up your thick skin or to hurt someone in a battle of wits. So some dual use cards as well. And all the cards do have some good humor. They'll have some flavor text on the bottom, might give you a chuckle. I personally actually like the humor in the game, spoiler alert. And there are some repeat cards, as you can see, which is a little bit of a bummer, but I'll talk more about that in the pros and the cons. So when you first start the game, everybody's going to get 2 Blakes, and you are going to pick the Blake that you're going to give to the person on your left. So I might give Gamer Blake to the person on my left, and then I might get this, and then this guy might get that. So I get Drowsy Blake, which means I would set my self-esteem, not my health, to 26. Now, they actually have different tokens for each different Blake, but ain't nobody got time for that. Then you're going to put this right here to symbolize that I have not used my once per game special ability, which in his case is take an extra turn at the end of this turn. Do not draw cards at the end of the extra turn. So that is pretty dang useful. So next you're going to figure out who the first player is. They will get this first player token, and they are going to draw 4 cards. The second player will draw 5 cards, the third player will draw 6 cards, and the fourth player will draw 7 cards. So you're going to draw up. There is no hand limit. And then you're going to do the player turn order. But before you do that, you are going to reveal the first event. So Evil Nemesis. So game ends after this round if the Tyrant Boss event occurred in a previous round. So that actually has not happened. But as you can see, there are different ways so that there's cards that connect to each other, which is something I like in this game. But for this particular round, everyone's going to have +1 verbal, and everyone's going to have -3 skin. So you're going to see a lot of verbal battles. And I'll talk more about the 2 different kinds of battles in a second. second. So next, we're going to play buff. So let's look at our hand. I actually don't have any buff cards, which is a little bit of a bummer. The buff cards would have shirts on them, which means now I have to attack. So we go to the attack opposing Blake, and you have to attack each round. This is a take that style game, and they push the issue. You will attack one of your opponents each and every round. So for this particular one, I obviously am probably going to go for a verbal battle because I already have 3 verbal, which is pretty good, but because of the event, I'm going to have 4 battle, and everyone else is going to have -3 skin, so that is great. So you know what? I would probably attack Heroic Blake over here, who currently would have 0 thick skin, which means if they don't do something, they are going to take 4 self-esteem damage because I would have 3 plus the one from the event. So I'd say, I'm going to attack you, and then we would go to the battle. So how this works, it's kind of similar to Munchkin, where other people will be able to play attack cards that will do various different things. So for instance, I could do this. I might say, you know what? I'm moving back in with my parents, so for this particular round, and only for this round, instead of having 4 attack, I'm going to have 7 attack, but I do have to go down once on the self-esteem, which means now this he's a little bit scared because, you know what? That's a lot of damage to take. So he might go ahead and he might look at his cards and he might say, you know, I could play this because it's going to give me at least +1 skin, so I'm going to be doing this. Or I could switch the current wit stats of 2 characters who engage the Battle of Wits. That one's not really going to help me, so he might play this one, he might play that one. But there's all sorts of different cards that he could play. There's also can be a potentially bit of negotiation. He might be looking over here at Gamer Blake saying, hey, if you can help me out with this particular turn, then I can help you out in the future. And I feel like that is something that you should encourage in your game, but it's not inherently in the rules. The card that would really help is the one that would like send it, so now instead of attacking him, I'd be attacking him. There's all sorts of different cards in the game will do different things. So let's just pretend though that he doesn't have anything to defend himself. This guy over here does not help, which means at this point he is going to get walloped, absolutely walloped, for 7 damage. So he would go down 7 on his self-esteem chart. We would discard all of the action cards because you only keep buff cards underneath you. And then at the end of the round, you are going to draw 3 cards and then end the turn. So now Gamer Blake would go. So I would draw 3 cards, and as I mentioned, there is no hand limit size. So on your turn, you're going to play buffs, you're going to attack somebody, you're going to draw cards, and then you're going to end the turn. Once everybody's had a turn, you're going to draw a new event. So very simple order of actions of what you're going to do. Now we talked a little bit about the verbal assault, so let's talk about the Battle of Wits. So in the verbal assault, only the defender can lose help. So even if this guy had like 12 thick skin and I was able to not do any damage to him, I would not take any self-esteem damage. He would not take any self-esteem damage. However, if you challenge someone to a battle of wits, which is when you're going to use brain versus brain, then defenders can actually damage the attacker. So if I come at you and I have like 5 attack and you have, 5, if I have 5 brain, you have 3 brain, and then this guy were to play a card that gave him +3 brain, so now he had 6 brain and I had 5 brain, and that was how it ended, I, even as the attacker, would lose self-esteem. So yeah, you're going to continue to do that either until you've finished all the rounds or until someone can't even go any further, at which point you will finish out the round, and whoever has the highest self-esteem will be the winner of Battle Blakes. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Battle Blakes from Kohio Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros, let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, 2 to 4 players, restricted player count. And honestly, I would not recommend this as a 2-player game. Now, me personally, I just don't want to play take-that games of 2 players. I feel like those style games are best when you have higher player counts, which in this case only goes up to 4. But there is a perfectly competent 2-player version of the game. I just don't ever want to play it again. Continuing on with the con side, gotta mention the artwork. I actually personally like the artwork and think it fits the theme of the game, but I had numerous people tell me, that looks amateur, that looks like crap, that's not good artwork. But, I don't know, it looks like a cheap version of Family Guy, which I feel like fits the theme of the game. So I actually think the artwork is a pro, but I think a lot of people are going to think it's a con. But either way, that's a your mileage may vary kind of thing. Also, this is a light Take That style card game. You need to know that going in. If you do not like Take That style games, this is not going to be for you. It does not do enough to say, wow, I know you don't like Take That card games, but you need to check this one out. That's just not the case. While this game does a lot well and does a lot of things better than a lot of other Take That card games, it doesn't do enough to warrant, being a cross-genre game where it's like, yes, this is the game that's going to convince you. continuing on with another con of the game, I really like the flavor text of the card, and I really like the artworks on the card, which makes me wish that all the cards were unique in the game. You're going to see a lot of duplicates. You're going to see 2 of this card, 2 of this card, 2 of this card, 2 of this card. I just wish that all the cards were unique, because part of the fun of this game, at least for me, was looking at all the cards, reading the flavor text on the card, being like, ha! Deal with this! Ha! Go binge eat! Or something like that. And I like that aspect of the game, but once you've seen it once or twice, it's like, okay, the humor's gone now. Once you've read the flavor text, the humor's somewhat gone. So I would have just liked to have seen more variety of cards in the game. Now, that being said, there are a lot of different kinds of cards in this game. I just wish there were no duplicates, which can be a little bit of a nitpick, but still. Any other cons with the game? You have your typical stuff with take-that-style card games. People can team up on someone else and knock them out of the game. The rule booklet, I wish maybe there was just an extra sentence or 2 in the rule booklet, because I kept finding myself going into it more than I would have liked to have. Not to say it's a bad rule booklet. At this point, I'm kind of nitpicking. It's a decent rule booklet, but it could have been better, and I wish it was better, especially for how simple this game is. Any other cons with the game? No, moving on to the pros. If you like take-that card games, and if you like 3 to 4 player take-that card games, I think I can easily recommend Battle Blanks. I really enjoyed this game for what it was. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of take-that style games. I put them down there with abstract strategy games as just games that are near the bottom of the pile of games that I would actively go out to try and play. But this artwork really attracted me to this game. The sense of humor in this game really attracted me to that game, and that's one thing I really like. I like the theme of this game. You have the different personalities, and you're trying to just whittle down their self-esteem. And this is the kind of game where it's more fun, where you actually kind of role play it, where it's like, boom, go overeat yourself, you fat Blake, you're so stupid and dumb, and you can never win a battle of wits. And, some people are not going to be into that. And that's another thing on the con side. Like, this theme is going to turn off a lot of people, because a lot of people have low self-esteem. So playing a game about actively trying to ruin other people's self-esteem, understandably, is just not something they want to do. But if you do like that theme, I feel like the game does a good job of being thematic in that aspect. So that is good. Another thing I loved about this game, and one of the big problems I have with a lot of take-that style games, is that the length just stretches way too long. Because with games like these, you do not want to play a take-that game for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. That's just way too long. This game does not outstay its welcome. It goes very briskly, especially when everybody knows what they're doing. I think our first game lasted about 45 minutes. I don't know who's playing this for an hour, because I just felt like it went very quickly, which was a good thing. It's something that I like. I also like the fact that the game can end in 2 different ways, or even with that event card that could potentially end the game. That's another thing. Some of the cards connect to each other, which I'm always a fan of games that do that. Like, okay, this is an action card, but you know what? If you play it on a specific character, then it becomes a buff. I like little things like that. I like the fact that each event is going to do something different for one particular Blake, and that Blake might not be in the game, but if it is in the game, that might be a big leg up for that person. I like that aspect of the game. So overall, Battle Blanks. It's this simple. If you like take-that card games, and you play 3 to 4 players with them, I definitely can recommend this, assuming you like the theme. I personally enjoyed it, and I can recommend it if you're in the market for a 3 to 4 player take-that style card game. It's got a good sense of humor. I personally like the artwork. I like the flavor text on the cards. I like how easy the game is to learn and how easy it is to teach. The rule booklet, as I said, was decent. Even I thought it could have been a little bit better. So overall, and the packaging. It's a very small box, which always is something that I like, because you can easily put this in a backpack. It's not going to take up too much table space. So, shelf space, I should say. So that is Battle Blanks from Kohio Games, one that I can recommend if you like light take-that style card games. If you enjoyed this review, please sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, how many chicken wings do you think you could eat in one sitting? Now, before we get started, obviously I need to answer the obvious questions. We're doing leg in, because that's the only way to eat chicken wings, at least in my humble opinion. And we're gonna say, they're decently sized. They're not like the huge ones, but I'd say they're decently sized. For me personally, I think I could eat, if I was drinking, 60 in a sitting. I think I could eat 60. I know I've eaten probably close to about 35 to 40 in a sitting, but I think if I really pushed myself, if all the chips were on the table, I could sit there and I could eat 60, assuming I could have a bathroom break. And I know a lot of times when people do competitive eating, that's not the case. I know when I did the big burrito challenge in Las Vegas, that was actually what lost me the challenge, was the fact that I could not go to the bathroom during the middle, because obviously they're afraid people are going to puke or whatever. But that's another story for another video. But let me know in the comments below, how many chicken wings do you think you could eat? And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.